Congratulations! You've selected Wayne-Dalton Fabric Shield panels to protect your home from internal pressurization resulting from devastating storm damage. These panels are lightweight, easy to handle, and simple to store. They are translucent, allowing natural light to enter the home, and are quick to attach and remove, making them a convenient alternative to plywood or metal. Wayne-Dalton Fabric Shield storm panels are PVC-coated woven fabric, tested to reduce damage from wind and storm-driven debris. Standard and custom sizes are available. These easy-to-follow instructions will help you complete the hassle-free installation of your Fabric Shield storm panels. Carefully read the list of tools and safety information before getting started. Each panel package contains one panel, plus 18 grommets and washers. The install kit, which you will use for the entire job, contains a worksheet, instruction sheets, DVD instructions, a drill bit to drill hole in fabric, a grommet setting tool, marking guide, sample practice panel section, 6 sample grommets and 6 sample washers. Make sure you have all these components and read all instructions before you begin. In addition to the materials included with your panels, you will need a few other items to complete the installation process, including fasteners long enough to penetrate your home's exterior veneer into the substrate, a 3/16" hex drive socket and/or quarter 20 drive socket, and quarter 20 washered wing nuts. Gather your tools and safety equipment before beginning. You will need gloves, safety glasses, and a stepladder. Also, a measuring tape, level, hammer, utility knife, and carpenter's square. Plus, an electric hammer drill for masonry, an electric drill for wood, a pencil or pen, a permanent marker, and appropriate wood and/or masonry drill bits are required for this project. Follow the fastener manufacturer's instructions for the size drill bit needed. An electric hammer drill is required for masonry and is helpful for wood. Most are moderately priced for purchase or are available at most rental centers. Knowing if your home's underlying material is wood, concrete, or hollow block will help determine the placement of the fasteners you will use to attach the panels to your home in the event of a storm. You'll also need to think about the window and door casings. Are your windows recessed with an extended sill, or do they not have a sill? Are they flush to the wall, or do they protrude past the wall? Check if shutters, downspouts, or other items might interfere with fastener placement. And finally, take note of your exterior siding. The thickness of your walls and where you plan to attach fasteners will determine the length and type of fastener required. Fasteners must penetrate the exterior finish into a solid substrate to provide a proper anchor. This is crucial to ensure a properly installed panel. Count the number of openings you wish to attach panels to. Include all windows and doors with glass. You might also want to include roof and gable end vents or any other openings that would allow wind to enter your home if damaged. Measure each opening's width from the inside of the exterior trim. Measure the opening's height from the top of the sill to the bottom of the top trim. Write this information down on your worksheet along with a brief description of the opening. Refer to your printed charts and worksheets included with the storm shield. For windows with wood framing, the mounting style must have the grommets left to right. For hollow and concrete block walls without protruding sills, you can mount the panel with the grommets left to right or top to bottom. For hollow and concrete block walls with a protruding sill, mount the panel with the grommets left to right. A minimum 1 inch or greater panel overlap of the opening is recommended. More overlap increases the system's resistance to small flying debris that can come in around the unattached edges. On your worksheet, record the panel orientation, the amount of overlap desired, and the type of framing and exterior the fastener will be going through. The length of a panel is calculated by adding the measurements you took of an opening to your desired amount of overlap on each unfastened end of the panel. When you arrive at your required panel length, record that figure in the appropriate column on the right-hand side of the worksheet. Again, on your worksheet, write the fastener setback from the opening required for your home's type of framing. This can be found on Chart 1 of the worksheet. Depending on the panel orientation, add either columns 1 and 7 together or columns 2 and 7, and write down the results under column 8 or 9. This is the grommet span, which determines how far apart your fasteners will be. Look on Chart 2 to determine where your grommet span falls and enter the panel letter into your worksheet. If there is no panel available for this opening, change the mounting style or adjust the grommet span. All panels are 96 inches long. The next step in installing a fabric shield panel is to cut it to size. Begin by marking the panel to the correct length using a tape measure. Measure corner to corner to check for squareness. Use a carpenter's square or a straight edge to cut the panel to the appropriate length using a sharp utility knife. To grommet and mount the panel, you must first know the spacing between grommets. This measurement is determined based on the wind zone you live in, the panel size, your home's framing, and the type of fastener you will use. With this information, Chart 3 will tell you how much space separate each grommet. Local building officials can help you if you don't know your wind zone. For homes on barrier islands and other coastal or open exposures, you will need to use a different chart to determine the spacing of the grommets on your structure. Refer to your printed charts and worksheets included with the storm shield. Determine your design pressure from the chart based on the window opening location, the mean roof height, and the wind zone. Consult your local building officials to determine your wind zone. To determine your mean roof height, average the eave height of the roof and the height of the highest point of the roof. Determine your window opening zone. If the opening is within 3 feet of the end of the building, then it is in Zone 5. Otherwise, it is considered in the interior zone or Zone 4. Based on this information, determine the design pressure for your window. Once you have determined the design pressure, use Chart 4 to determine the grommet spacing. Use the next higher value than your design pressure as a guide in Chart 4. As an example, if your home is in a 130 mile per hour wind zone, the average roof height is 22 feet, and the window is located in Zone 4, your design pressure is 44.6, the higher of the two numbers. Using Chart 4 for Panel 1 installation, use the number 45 for your design pressure, and you can see that you need to space the grommets 12 inches apart. To begin grommeting, mark the center of your panel using a tape measure. Divide the grommet span by 2 and mark this distance on each side of the center line at the opposite sides of the non-grommeted side. Using either the marking guide or a tape measure, measure at least 1.5 inches in from the edge of the panel to set the location of the 4 corner grommets. When using the marking guide, place the lettering marking guide on the outside edges of the panel's wide welded side. Move the guide until the edge of the marking guide is aligned with the edge of the panel. This then positions the location of the 1.5-inch setback. The guide can then be used to mark the grommet spacing. The distance between grommets can be evenly spaced, located to match mortar joints or any other spacing of your choosing, so long as it does not exceed the maximum grommet spacing in Chart 3. Mark the grommet locations along both edges of the panel using a tape measure or the marking guide. To prevent drilling into your work surface, place a scrap piece of wood under the panel. With the drill bit provided in the install kit, drill a 9/16 inch hole in the storm panel at each marked grommet position. Place a grommet up through the drilled hole and place the washer over the grommet. Set the grommet using the grommet tool and a hammer. Several blows of the hammer will set the grommet. Repeat this process setting all the grommets on the storm panel. To complete the panel, apply the Florida Building Code compliant label to a convenient location on the back of the panel. Using a permanent ink pen, write in the area provided on the label a description of the location where the panel is to be placed on your home. The following steps are necessary for setting the fasteners on the wall of the house. In this example, the grommets are orientated left to right. Locate the center of the window opening. Measure up from the edge of the window opening. Include any overlap. Either use the panel as a template or measure over half the grommet span distance on both sides of the window's center line and make a vertical mark. Measure down 1.5 inches from the top edge of the storm panel and make a horizontal mark on both sides of the center line. This locates where the top left and top right fasteners are to be located. Before drilling the fasteners, make sure they are level and the window opening is plumb and adjust if necessary. Using the appropriate drill for the material you are drilling through, follow the fastener manufacturer's instructions to secure the fastener properly. Using the appropriate drive socket for the fastener, install the fastener. Attach the storm panel to the top left and top right fasteners. Holding the storm panel in place, use the grommet holes on each side of the panel as a template to mark the remaining fastener positions on the wall of the house. Either use the panel as a drill guide or remove the storm panel so it is not in the way while setting the remaining fasteners. After the remaining fasteners have been set, place the storm panel over the window by attaching and tightening all the wing nuts to properly deploy the storm panel. The storm panel is now in place and ready to protect your home from damaging winds.